Hey there, this is Dennis Anyone with Dennis Hensley. It's a podcast about making things up and making things happen. Art and creativity, I think they make the world go around. They make life bearable in the tough times. Boy, do we need them now. And I love to lift people up that are doing creative things. Today, my guest is my favorite playwright, Justin Tanner. He has a new show that he is the only star of. He plays two characters in it. It's called My Son the Playwright. And in the first act, he plays his father. And in the second act, he plays a version of himself. The names are changed, but it is semi-autobiographical, that's for sure. I loved it. Justin's acting is so good, and I learned things about him, and I've always loved his writing. So I was excited to have this conversation. I think it's the second time he's been on the podcast. I've been a fan since the early 90s. I discovered his play Teen Girl through a thing called On the House, which they had back in the day, and you would call this hotline. And they would give you, you could get, cheap tickets or free tickets. And, I did a lot of theater discovering then. But I just loved his sensibility, and I would go back again and again. So, the play's called My Son the Playwright, and it's showing at Rogue Machine in Los Angeles. RogueMachineTheater.org is the website through March 1st. So, before we get to the interview, though, I want to remind you that this podcast is something I do because I love it. But if you want to support it, there are a few things you can do. You can go to DennisAnyone.net, leave a tip in my virtual tip jar. You can also become a subscriber to my Patreon and my Substack spin-off podcast, Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. I appreciate everyone that's done that so far. It's $5 a month. I post a half-hour episode every week or so. Pop culture stuff, things I've seen, things I'm thinking about. I also try to end every episode with a message about happiness, something I'm chewing on, something I've read, something I've learned. And you can learn about that at either Patreon or Substack. Just search Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. And finally, you can also become a subscriber to DNR Studios. I'm part of a group of shows under the Derek and Romaine podcast banner. And you can get my show early if you subscribe and all these other great queer shows. And there you go. All right, on to the interview. This is Justin Tanner. Joining me now from Highland Park in Los Angeles, it's my favorite playwright, Justin Tanner. He is the star and the writer of a new one-person show called My Son the Playwright, which is currently playing at Rogue Machine, and it's fun and fabulous. So welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Dennis. Good to see you.
You as well. I really enjoyed the show, and I've had anyone that listens to this podcast will know that I have dad stuff coming up for me at this point in my life. And so I connected to a lot of it. My mother was the more supportive parent by a million miles. But the person I think about more is my dad. And the fact that he wasn't. And, the one that, and I'm like, Dennis, why don't you just switch to the one that loved you? Why don't you think of the positive one instead of just trying to do the math on the other one? So anyway, I guess my first question is, what made you want to write about this now? What made you want to write about your father now?
Gosh, that is a good question. I don't, actually, I'll tell you where it came from. I wrote this play called Little Theater, which was done at the Rogue Machine 3 years ago, I think. And that was the first kind of venture into the roman à clef, the little sort of barely disguised memoir play.
Right.
And an actor was playing me during the Cass Theater years, in the mid-'90s. And it made me want to get on stage. And I just thought, I could play, because the actor who played it, he's going to kill me. His name is Zach, but I can't remember his last name. But I was like, I want to work with him. I'll be the dad. He can be the son. And that was the impulse for it. And so I was, and I thought, I haven't acted in a long time, and it'll give me an opportunity to, maybe I can sing a couple of Christian Hoffman's my husband, and he's a songwriter. And I could sing some of his music. So it came from just that impulse. I had not thought about my dad. He died almost 20 years ago. I didn't go to the funeral. I didn't cry. I kind of disconnected from both of my parents. So what probably was happening was that it was time for me to unpack some childhood trauma and see if I could try and reconnect with this idea of dad. And that was my way in. And it wasn't until I started working on it that all this other stuff started coming up. And then, I would say that my relationship with my dad now, because of this play, has been significantly shifted for the better, I'll say.
I'm glad to hear that. You're a really good actor. I've always thought that when I've seen you perform, but it's just you. And the characterization is great. You're very in the moment, very alive. And I saw one of the first shows, and you never felt like you didn't remember your lines. Like, it just really good. How has it been to do it all? There's no one else to pick up cues or anything like that. What's it been like to perform this?
It's really hard. It's harder than I ever imagined. And I told the producers about 4 weeks into rehearsal that if I had known how hard it was going to be, I never would have done it. And I would say that honestly. It's a good thing that I couldn't see into the future. Because, and even obviously, last night, was it last night? Okay, we're doing a show last night, and that was the fourth. It was like maybe 6 in a row because we did some previews.
Right.
And I was exhausted. And as soon as that play starts and I walk on stage, I can't leave. I can't stop. There's nobody to take the attention off of me. And there are times that I'm up there and I'm talking to the audience or talking, doing the play, and I'm like, oh my God, I just want to go. It would really fuck things up. I'm sorry, Libby. It would really mess things up
You can totally
if
swear.
I walked off stage right now. Yeah. And then I immediately get back into the play. But I got to say, it is really, really hard. It's challenging. Having an audience makes a big difference because it was, I think, 7 weeks of rehearsal with just Lisa and I, the director.
Yeah.
And it was starting to be agony to get up there and to relive all this trauma with no payback, nobody really paying attention or making me feel like I was being heard.
Yeah.
So as soon as I had an audience, that relationship is very exciting and it makes it worthwhile. But it is just the memorization alone of these 14,000 words that the play is. It's mind-boggling. I started in August, and I worked steadily from August just to memorize a stupid play.
Do you have any tricks or hacks for memorizing? I would put things on tape, I think, or listen in my car or something like that.
I did. I would, because I can't stand the sound of my voice. So there's a function in Final Draft where you have like this robotic voice read to you.
Yeah.
So I would just have them read the play very slowly in this weird British robot voice. It was very fun.
And you would just get it in your head.
Yes, and that repetition. But also somebody gave me an Allison Janney trick, which is to take the first letter of each word and write like and put those only on the page. And it isn't like you have to memorize it twice. But I look at it looks like code. And then I think, I think that maybe that's the word the, and kind of it's a halfway trick. So then eventually it's sort of like a shortcut to getting masses of words and it actually worked.
It worked
I didn't
for
think
you.
It was going to. Oh yeah.
That's really cool. Beautiful. I like to hear that. I took a playwriting course for the first time in the fall. I've never tried to write a play before, and I really loved it. I love the teacher. It's a playwright named Bernardo Cubria. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's cool. I loved so much of it. But in the first week, he's like, take a piece of paper and write down the worst thing you ever did or something you feel ashamed or embarrassed about or whatever. So we all did it. And he goes, okay, now pass it to someone in the room you don't know.
God.
And then he goes, there might be a play in there. And I was watching your play and I thought, this feels like one of those very personal, very like, I guess I'm ready to kind of look at this stuff. It just felt really exposing in a way. Did you feel that way, or is that just my mindset because I've been in this class and I'm having this experience?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's very exposing.
Yeah.
I could never have faced. Here's what prepared me for it, though, is that I'm almost coming up on 7 years of sobriety.
Right.
And AA meetings are a lot like this play in that people confess the most like horrific, abhorrent, embarrassing, terrifying stories to each other.
Right.
And you just get used to speaking that kind of honest, vulnerable. And you can tell when somebody's like just posing in there. A lot of people are just like, but when somebody tells something vulnerable and real, everybody listens. And most of the time, the more harrowing the story, the more laughs you get in the room. And that's really, that's what started. I had shared most of these stories in the rooms.
Yeah.
Just through parting, exposing my past.
Yeah.
And there are times that I'm talking to the audience, and I'm like, okay, here comes another one. And I'm like, oh, geez. And it's very gratifying in a way to hear gasps and people go, oh, no, which is it's marvelous.
But here's what I've learned just in the process of writing what I've been writing and going through this class is that thing that you wrote on the piece of paper that seemed like, oh, I can't share that with anyone. Now I'm like, oh, we're having a reading. Come to the reading. Like it gives you a place to put it. and it's less sticky. I don't know. I feel like I'm excited about it, and
it's a really good. That is a great prompt. I'm sorry, just to say that writing teacher gave you a great prompt.
I really love this teacher because he's not interested in like the great American play and here's the structure. He's about getting us to dig deep and to be personal and to also generate, like he wants us to have a draft by the end of the thing. You know what I mean? So it's not about, it's not like technical stuff. It's really about deep feeling and opening up. And at one point he goes, if you're going to be a playwright, this is what you do. See if you relate to this. He goes up and he stood on this riser that's like in our classroom, and then he kind of opens his hand out and he's like, that's what you're doing. You're saying, here, everybody, this is me. Here it is. And you're up high, so you're like kind of calling for a certain kind of attention, but there's a very open, vulnerable, here's my heart, here's my soul, here's all that shit I did. Boom. Please watch it.
I would say under the best circumstances, that's exactly what it ought to be.
Yeah.
It isn't. I wrote a lot of plays for a lot of years under the influence of drugs and alcohol, which made it easier to write. And I think my early ones, when I was first just sort of like emptying my brain of all my childhood stories and whatever, those plays ran on just pure adrenaline. But in the middle period, when I was having a difficult time generating material, and then I just immersed myself in being drunk and high. And those plays, I think, they stopped being as personal. They started being more, and also I'd been writing for television and had gotten, there's a lot of bad habits that can be picked up from being in a writer's room.
Right.
If what your goal is to write something personal that is not automatically going to be understood and identified with everybody in the room. Right. To me, the specific is what makes it universal. But when you get in those writing rooms and it's just like, okay, well, but, shortcuts to, I remember my agent once said that you always have to be writing towards the next laugh, and that you need 3 laughs per page, and that it doesn't even matter if it's funny, it has to seem like it's funny. And that was kind of what the thing that I learned, and it's a terrible thing to say because I was not a very good TV writer, but I had to forcibly take those habits out of my brain and then just start you really said it, vulnerability is the key. And honesty, and a willingness to, stand on a little platform and say, "I'm over here. Look over.
Look
here."
at me.
But then, when you're looking at me, you have to be able to say, "Here's something true."
Here's something true. Yeah, it's powerful. I've just gotten so into it. I've never done it before. If you were ever going to teach playwriting, have you ever done that or worked with people on that? Or do you have any?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you have ways that you come at it when you do that?
I've had this thing called, I don't even know what it's called now. It was a consulting business. I was actually during the pandemic.
Right.
I started teaching writing on Zoom, and at some point I had like 28 students and I'd take them in little groups of 4. And people would just bring whatever. It was poetry or books, plays, screenplays. So I would say it wasn't specifically plays. It was just creative writing all across.
Right.
And mostly when I teach, it's about troubleshooting. I think a first draft, if you're able to write, in other words, if you're able to produce pages, first drafts are fairly easy.
Right.
Because you just have to keep going. But then you have this massive writing, and then it has to be turned into something that actually works. Yeah. That isn't just that has pace and a way to hook an audience, a way to keep their attention, surprise, whether that's with plot twists or that's just character revelations or whatever. So if I have a gift as a teacher, it's towards troubleshooting, finding problems, and making. Okay, here's a side note. When I first started writing plays, Diana Gibson was my teacher, and she did not teach me how to rewrite. She would just say, "Get in there and write it again," and I would go, "Okay," and I would just write the same thing again, never knowing how to make this better than the one previous, because it would be just as bad and just as good. It had not moved remarkably forward.
Right.
And there's the real hook. That stops a lot of people is, well, I'd love to continue writing, but I don't know the first clue as to what is the direction to go in.
Right.
And that's, I can look at people's writing, help them edit it for sure. If I have the number one gift of me, my number one gift as a writer is editing.
Right.
Because I love it and I am merciless. Kill your children, kill all of them. Because until you get to the thing that's undeniable.
Right.
You know? But then also just like spur their imagination. Because a play, as opposed to like, it's not structurally bound into like a television script, especially, and movie scripts, you know, they've got a structure that you kind of have to adhere to, unless you're like Paul Thomas Anderson and you can do whatever you want. Right. But if you're trying to sell screenplays, that's got to be structured. But plays can really be anything. Yeah. As long as we're still interested, there is no set structure. I mean, I guess you can go back to the Greeks or whatever, but I'd say nowadays plays have got the most open-ended structure, which makes them more difficult, I think, than movies or television.
I'm really enjoying it based on my experience with other formats. But things like sometimes you can just have a character come out and say the thing that you want to think, what you're thinking about. You know, they can just say it. Whereas sometimes in other things, there's a theme going on, but you don't get to kind of chew on it. You can chew on things a little more. Who knows? Maybe people will read it and go, this part sucks. But I've seen plays where I'm like, oh, they just said the thing. You know, like it feels like a way to chew on things and have one character come at it the other way, or an argument. Like my teacher often talks about how plays are sometimes an argument about something. You are sober and yet you play drunk in the first act. And are you high? Is your character high in the second act, or just desperately trying to get high?
Desperately, yes. Not high, but frustrated.
How do you approach playing drunk? How do you think about it? Getting more and more drunk. Not like you show up drunk. You get drunk.
Here's the fun thing. When we were rehearsing, about a week in, I knew that the first drink was coming and that the blocking of the first act.
Right.
And I had to tell my sponsor, I'm so looking forward. I know it's going to be water, but and I just could not wait to get that first drink in.
Right.
And it's absolutely sense memory. And I just know that for me, I don't even think about it. I take the drink. I have a physical reaction. I feel like every pore, every what do you call those things? Nerve ending in my body is just sighing with relief.
Right.
And then I continue to drink, and then there's a point where I realize, because this was always what would happen to me, is that I would drink and I wouldn't even realize how much I had drunk. And then I would say or do something and I would go, oh, wait a minute. Oh, hold it. I've had something to drink. I've had something. I can tell now.
Right.
And so I just waited for that click to happen in my head. You know, that what Brick talks about in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, that click in your head that sort of allows you to like be human.
Yeah.
The thing that I was looking out. I mean, if there's all that trauma I talk about in my childhood. That I think that alcoholism is like a born trait. It is. I mean, it is nature, not nurture. However, the thing I was looking for as a child to make me feel like I was like everybody else turned out to be alcohol. So that's the thing, is that I feel more, that wasn't really answering your question. So once I feel the first little hint of alcohol on stage, I'm like, oh, I get it. And usually it's maybe 10 minutes and 15 minutes after I've started drinking. Then it's like, okay, great. Every time I take a sip, just like I am immersed in warm water, a little bit more. And then it's got to be sense memory of just all the times I've been drunk myself into practically a blackout. I never blacked out, but almost,
Yeah. Do you look like your father?
Lisa James, the director, I showed her a picture of my dad on Saturday. She said, oh, you look just like him, which horrified me, because when I was a kid, I was like, I don't want to be anything like my father. But yes, I think I do.
That's all right. It makes sense that you would. I don't think I look that much like him, but maybe I do. I read a quote where you said that you enjoy playing him more than you enjoy playing the younger version of you. Is that accurate, or there's something about it that was more comforting in a way?
It was fun because it was, you know what, I think I may have said that before I started doing it. Because the first doing my dad wrecks my voice, and it's more, by the time the first act is done, I go back in the dressing room and I'm like, whew, I can relax. Now I can just be myself. Now I can be like, I don't have to really do much acting in the second act. Right. And the first act is much more nuanced, and I think it's more of an acting challenge. Everything about the first act is more acting challenge, but it's also, I have to go to emotional places that are not comfortable at all. mean, last night when I was thinking I have to do the play again, I'm going to have to do this, and then I have to sing that freaking Cat Stevens song. And they're all powerful stuff that happens on stage, but it's devastating to do.
Yeah.
It's like, because the body can't tell the difference the way I'm doing it, whether it's really happening or not.
Right.
I know I'm acting, but it feels like I am being emotionally brutalized on stage.
Well, you play the piano and sing in both acts as both characters. Did your father play the piano as well?
No, he wanted to. And the reason he bought me a piano is because he wanted to play the piano. So my father did not sing or play the piano, but that's one of the, there are a lot of, it isn't a literal translation from my childhood. It was a necessary, to set up the parallels between the two acts.
Yeah.
I thought that's a way that I can talk about generational passing on of a baton.
Yeah.
And my sister's going to come and see it. She's going to go, Dad didn't play the piano. I know, it's the first thing she's going to say when he plays it.
Are you nervous for her to see it?
Not really.
Yeah.
I think that she'll understand.
Was she older than you or younger than you?
Yeah, I'm the baby.
Yeah, I'm the baby too.
And there's one story I tell in the play about when my mom threw us all out of the house in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And I wrote that into a play called Procreation in 2010. And it was just a monologue, somebody said. And that play was was panned by everybody. Everybody hated that play. It was sort of like the bottom of the barrel for me as a writer. But my sister came and saw the play, and afterwards we went out for drinks. I was still drinking then. And I said, Nancy, did that happen? Because I can't remember. And she took a long pause and she said, yes, it happened. And then she changed the subject immediately.
But she confirmed it.
Oh yeah. So she came and visited me a couple of months ago, and I've been estranged from most of my family due to the shared brutality of a lot of what went on in there. We were terrified, all of us. And that was one of the things she confessed, is that we both had this feeling that we'd be at home and we'd be kind of like casual hanging out. And then we'd hear the Volkswagen, my mother's Volkswagen, pull into the driveway. And we would both just start shaking and with fear about what could happen now, because you never knew what you were going to get when Mom walked in the door. It was like that scene in Mommy Dearest when she goes in and starts looking through the closet for the hangers. And that was literally every day. Well, okay, I'm not going to say literally. It was almost every day of my life. I had done something Mom was going to catch, and then I was going to be punished for,
But when I think of the plays that I saw first of yours, things like Pop Mom, there were lots of fun moms.
Yes.
Cool moms.
Yes, that was me attempting to rewrite history. That's
was interesting, right?
Later on, I talk about it in this play. At one point, she moved to Hollywood. She was a costume designer for both the Jackson 5 and the Temptations. She was worked for a costume designer in the early 70s, and came out as a lesbian. Went to Studio One, I think, was a big gay club in Hollywood at the time, and came back to Selena as this totally changed woman, and kind of not really apologetic about how bad she had been, but now she was going to be my pal, and she was smoking pot and growing pot, and she was everybody's friend. So there was a weird disconnect, but that's where I remembered her cooking for big groups of people, throwing giant parties, but what was lying underneath was the abusive mom of my childhood, which I never really got over. But yes, I did. I wrote Happy, Fun-Loving Moms. I don't know the psychology behind it, except for that I think it was an attempt to recreate the mess of my life and give it a happier spin.
Yeah. And before your parents passed, did they come and see your plays?
Oh, yeah, they did.
Yeah. What do you remember about that? Or what was their overall vibe? Were they excited and proud and happy? Or you talk about your dad coming to one and hanging out in the beer garden and stuff like that.
My experience, and I don't know whether this is accurate or not, is that both my parents were totally underwhelmed by my writing. My mom came and saw a play, and all she had to say was, because I had used the real name of one of my high school nemesis.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And she came out of the play, and the first thing she was like, "You've got to change that name. You're going to get in trouble." And didn't say anything about the play. That was it. That's all she had to say. And that's what I remember but I could be looking it through, through a lens of not wanting to see it any other way, or being drunk or high.
Right.
I just don't remember. Or could my parents ever say anything that would be enough to compensate for what I went through as a child? No.
Yeah.
So I always felt that they were proud that I was making money,
Yeah.
but I don't think they understood my art one bit.
Yeah. And you write about in the play how your dad, in the play at least, helped you manage your finances and stuff like that. Is that true, that you would send him a big bag of receipts?
Yeah. The trash bag they have in the play is nothing. I mean, we're talking about a yard waste trash bag crammed full so tight that I had to tie it in a double knot, full of receipts. And that's how we get them every year.
Once you had so many receipts that they would fit in a giant trash bag.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I saved my receipts, but they're not that many in a trash bag. Wow.
I was insane.
And he would make sense of it. Was that his business, or was it part of what he did, or he was just good at numbers and stuff?
He was a office manager at a company, and he helped. It was great. I really blew it. He set up I don't know, 401k, whatever it is. Something that if I had not touched it, I would be living at the absolute high life right now.
Yeah.
But about 2 years after he set it up for me, I just emptied it all because didn't want to go back to work, and I think it was if right now it would be just, I don't know, an incredible amount of money a month. The foolishness.
What are we going to do? Yeah, I know. I'm looking at this little cabinet I have that's metal, and it has magnets on it. And I have magnets from like 9 or 10 of your shows. Because I remember you did a repertory where every night you could go see a different Justin Tanner play. And I was like there every night. I was like a groupie. But do you remember doing all those plays back to back like that? Was that a thing that happened? Or was it like once a week? Or it felt like every night it was a different show.
It was Wednesday. It was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And Tuesday and Wednesday were 8 o'clock shows. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were 8 o'clock shows. Friday and Saturday were double features. And actually Saturday was a triple feature because there was a matinee. And then Sunday was a matinee and an evening show. So it was incredible. And I directed all those plays at the same time. And that was
how long did that happen? Because I was trying to describe it to a friend, and I was like, "Damn, I don't know if that's right, but I think it was."
Yeah.
Was it a few months?
It ran for about 4 months, I think.
Damn, I was in heaven because I love your writing and I love your plays. There's something the humor or the poignancy. There's something subtle. What do you think your thing is? Do you know what Do you know what I'm trying to ask? Like,
yes.
if the people that love your stuff, what is it they're hooking into? Because it's a subtle thing. It's not like, oh, this is Neil Simon, or you know what I mean? Like, it's
the thing is, okay. I think I've been doing some sort of looking in the back, Monday morning quarterbacking about my plays. Let's say those early ones. What made them work, I believe, was a sense of voyeurism. That there was a rhythm, that they didn't seem written as much as they seemed. A lot of people thought that the plays were improvised because they were so overlapping and so colloquial. I wasn't very literary.
Right, and you weren't pretentious.
So my sister, who worked at a title insurance company, would bring her coworkers who had never seen a play in their lives, and they would come see these plays, and they would love them because they didn't feel like they were being taught any lessons. The problem, I think, this is my opinion about the American theater, was that there's always seems to be a lesson being taught, that you are, or you were getting a comedy that's just like Sucker Punch, like they might as well be a sitcom, but they're very curated and overly. The words are escaping me as a writer; they're escaping me, but they seemed very overworked. And my stuff had a very DIY quality, kind of like lo-fi. You felt like you had just walked into. Like a strange, they talk about the uncanny valley. It's like what am I looking at now? Is this it felt real, but you knew it was performed, but it wasn't in your face.
Right.
You could take it. Especially when I was directing my plays, I wanted my plays to be absolutely fine if nobody was laughing. If they didn't get a single laugh, the play would still work. Whereas if you're looking at a Neil Simon play and nobody's laughing, you're in hell.
Right.
Because then it's just like, oh my God, if you're an actor in that. But it didn't matter because you weren't being coaxed or cajoled.
Yeah.
You were just being gently talked to about stuff that a lot of people just didn't talk about,
right?
Or at least in the way that they did.
You weren't going to the theater. It was
not at all.
It was something else. And the laughs came out of the characters. They weren't like jokey jokes. Like I just think of Tia Constantine being on that back patio and in Teen Girl and Laurel Green says, I imagine your life is like this and this. She goes, it's exactly like that. Do you know the moment I'm talking about? It still makes me laugh. And it's because of the characters or something. Like it's just
well, it's really because of the actors. I happened to luck into a group of actors whose personalities were so in the forefront of who they were, and they were just unimaginably easy to write for. And I would just keep putting them in new scenarios and say, okay, now you're a phone sex worker, and now you're just a drug dealer, or now you're pregnant, but you're sneaking out for cigarettes all the time. That was talking about Thea.
Right.
But Laurel, that's really how I looked into it.
Right.
I don't think I could have written those plays if I hadn't known those actors.
Right. You talk in the play that we're talking about, My Son the Playwright, but you really wanted to be an actor first, and you got into writing just so your friends could have parts and you guys could do shows together.
That was it.
Was there a moment when you realized, I like writing. I'm a real writer. When the identity started to land on you?
When the first critic told me I had talent. Yeah. Ray Lloyd, who was a critic for the LA Times. That was the first review that I read for a play called Changing Channels back in 1987. And I was not anticipating or expecting anybody to like what I had done. But there it was. And that was like, oh, okay. Somebody finally told me what it is I'm here to do. That's really what happened. And then I just thought, okay. And I ran with it.
Yeah. How important are reviews to you? Because you talk about it. It comes up in My Son the Playwright, like the idea that what people think of, how plays are received. You talk about not being published and in a way that's good because people can imagine the greatness. So reviews.
In the old day, they were so important to me, especially when I got to cast and I was sort of a quasi-producer. Right. I knew how without the reviews, especially, back then you had, 8 to 10 newspapers in Los Angeles, and they would all come. And now there's like nobody. LA Times barely reviews theater. But now, and I would be online from the minute the play went down, just looking to see, is anyone reviewed it yet? Or before a line, I would just be, God, what did I don't remember what I did back in the 90s when you couldn't go online. But I would be just running out to get the newspaper every morning and just gleaning through the entertainment section to see if I was in there. Now, it's like I know they're important, but I would say I did not even read all the reviews for my last play. Yeah. It no longer really, I have enough trust and faith in who I am as a writer that I don't need confirmation about it. I'm intrigued. There are a few critics whose writing is interesting enough to me that I want to see what they have to say. Right. And that's good. Yeah. But that's really all I look for reviews now and also for producers, pose for the poster, so you get some people in there. Right. Knowing what'll move tickets. You seem allergic to a certain kind of pretense that is so much a part of the theater. I think I've talked about this before with you in interviews, but even your titles, Teen Girl, Pot Mom, it's not Perestroika, the millennium, you seem allergic to that shit. And yet in the play, it feels like you long for more sort of quote unquote, validation from the establishment or New York or the bigger places. So it seems like this battle in between, because sometimes those pretentious plays, I don't know, get more attention in a way, or well, I would say that is me at 40 is who I was playing in there, and that was like the peak of my. Yes, is it a dichotomy? Is that the thing I'm thinking of? Yeah. Is that on the one hand, I want to reject the thing. And on the other hand, I'm like, just please give me this thing. Yeah. And I don't really feel that tension anymore. That's fantastic that you don't, but that you can write about it and that you can kind of see it. Oh, yeah. 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 And every time I write a play, I get this like, okay, maybe this is the one. Yeah. Maybe this is the one that's going to like launch me. But when it didn't happen after 20 plays, I kind of stopped doing it. But I got to say, there were times when I was first rehearsing this play and I thought, okay, this one's different. But that's just what I tell myself, and it gets me very excited. Yeah. And to me, it's like if this play has a life beyond this, or if it closes on March 1st, it's done. I'm really satisfied with my life outside of my life as a writer, a creative person.
Right.
And when I'm done with the play, I usually just go, okay, I don't know if I'll write another one. I'll see.
Yeah. In the last week of our playwriting class, it was 10 weeks, Bernardo talked about how you can find out what theaters are looking for plays and like things like that. But he was sort of sharing in his own experiences. Sometimes the more sort of prestigious experiences that you get aren't that rewarding. But what is rewarding is doing your little play in a black box with your friends. Like when you look back and you're like, that's what it was. And he goes, and then someday, your set decorator will call you and say, what are you seeing for the couch? And just the thrill of that, right? And I bet this is something you still connect with, right? Just the fucking thrill of doing it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, exactly.
Has it changed for you, or has that always been there, that same thing? Or does it mean more now?
Gosh, I would say it. Both are true. I am still a little kid about it,
right?
But I'm also like, I recognize its position in my life. Like it doesn't matter as much as it used to.
Right.
It isn't because I got to say this. A lot of this has to do with being sober.
Yeah.
I have a different set of things that make my life worthwhile now. There have been. I remember, actually, I'll say this. I had this cat named Oscar who got very sick. And when I went to the vet and the vet said, okay, here are all the medicines. Who's going to do the medicines? I'll do it. They took me back into the room and it was 13 different medicines that had to be fed into a tube directly into Oscar's stomach.
Wow.
And it had to be done 3 times a day. And I thought, and I am not a caregiver. That is not me. Okay. But I did it. And I kept Oscar alive for another month. I was at a party later that year, and somebody said, he was talking about working in the theater, and they said, what is your greatest accomplishment? And I said, you want to know my greatest accomplishment? Keeping my cat alive for a month. Nothing in this world will compare to that. And I got to say, it still is that there is because I surprised myself.
Right.
Because before going into the little doctor's office, the doctor said, oh, which one of you is going to do it? By the way, it's 13 medications 3 times a day. I would have said, Christian, you got to take this.
Right.
But I walked in there and I'd already said yes. And then I thought, okay. So to me, that was like a whole world opened up about possibilities for a future I did not imagine for myself.
Right.
And that is being sober is like that almost every day.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, here's a life beyond what I thought I could do.
Yeah.
So when it comes to doing a play, it isn't like this is smaller than that. This is very exciting. And I think at a time like right now, the best feedback I've gotten from this play right now is that given the circumstances we're all living under, it's good to see something that feels very vulnerable and true and honest and has redemption and is a story about an impossible reconnection between 2 people who aren't even on stage with each other.
Yeah.
But and that when I got tired last night and did not want to go on,
right.
I just thought I was like, okay, this isn't about me. It isn't. I've done all the work and now I'm going to go. It isn't like I did this so I could stand up there in a spotlight. It was like, okay, I have something to say. I'm going to see, and maybe this will distract somebody from what's going on or make them feel like, oh, there is something. To me, like when I listen to music every morning, I go into I listen to all the indie music blogs and I find what's the new track. And if I hear a song that makes me feel like, okay, the world is not over because somebody wrote this song and it's making me feel like I want to be alive. And that's what you got to be part of that writing plays and performing them is being part of that mechanism that keeps people wanting to go forward, I think.
Right. I think artists are what get us through the hard times, and that's why I like to support them and lift them up and try to be one at times, and I agree. I think that's the thing. What did people say after the show this first weekend? Was there anything that surprised you about what they were taking away, or did they talk about their own fathers?
Yes. There was a lot of that more emotion, more willingness to tell me how they felt, almost as if the play had made it okay for them to be as vulnerable to me as I'd been to them. So when people were talking to me, I'd never gotten responses like this, or the number of them, or the more effusive, but also just like heartfelt, connective responses, which made me feel like, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's what this play needed to be. And so it made me very happy. That's beautiful. And also just seeing the faces. The other thing is being on stage.
It's so intimate in that
space.
space.
Looking at people.
Yeah.
And there are times when I'm like, hi, I'm looking right in your eyes right now.
Yeah.
And it's like if some people don't really like it, but most people are like, okay. And if people are really into it, I keep coming back to them.
Yeah.
And there was one guy last night who he was so into it that I just kept talking to him. And after the show, I said, look, I'm sorry. I feel like I did the whole play to you. But he was like, no, it was great. But that part of it, that is like being in, you know what else I got to say? I had a band. I still have a band. And that really helped with this because the first few times I sang with this band, I did like a Jim Morrison where I turned my back. I couldn't even look at people. I was so scared. And then eventually I was like, oh, I can't wait for the connection with an audience because singing is very much, you can look right at them and you're singing and it's a thing. And it prepared me for the idea of I'm going to share this not with a fourth wall where we're both in our own little bubbles, but it's connected through the experience itself. But now I'm breaking that fourth wall. Yeah. And now it's as if I'm telling you the most intimate things about myself, whether you want to hear them or not. Here they are, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of the other plays. You don't break the fourth wall often, ever in your plays. No. This was like a new kind of thing.
Little theater had started. And that was, I had to fight. The producers, Little Theater in its original incarnation was like a weird art film in that it had multiple timelines and it was very confusing. The actors were saying, we don't get it. And finally the producer's like, look, we love this, but you've got to help us out. Right. And Lisa James, the director, I've worked with her, I think, on 6 plays now, who's like my right hand. I can't imagine doing a play without her. But she's like, I think we need some narration. I know you don't want to do it. And I was like, okay. But as soon as she made that recommendation, I was like, oh, hell yes. And then it worked.
And you found your voice in it and it felt natural and you could do it. You seem to have a reticence to sort of warm, fuzzy moments or sentimentality. Like you're very subtle. Like even the bridge element in the story that connects the two is subtle. You know, the emotion of that. Can you talk about getting that balance right and why it seems like you'd rather err on the side of less is more than, the group hug kind of feeling? I don't like being manipulated, but I love crying more than any. If I'm seeing a movie and it sneaks up on me and makes me cry, that is my favorite thing. Yeah. But it happens really rarely. But those movies, I'll tell you right now, the movie that makes me cry more than anything else is Night of the Iguana. If you get to the end of that film, and do you know the movie or the play? It's Tennessee Williams, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And at the very end, this guy has been writing this poem the whole play. He's the oldest living playwright, poet. And he reads this poem, and it's so beautiful, and it's so meaningful that if I think about it, it'll make me cry. But a lot of people will look at that poem and go, it's a poem. What is it, Yeah. So to me, I have to creep up on the audience. And it's also, I would say that's Lisa James again, because, if it happens, if the emotion comes up, let's go with it, but never push the emotion. Yeah. Like leave it out there for people to find, Yeah. Because I don't want to be caught poking people into a feeling. Yeah. I don't like it personally. And I know that it's like that's what theater is. That's why I don't like to go see movies or plays where, we're suddenly left with, you have a lump in your throat and we're going to keep you here until you're dead. It's like, if you're going to put a lump in my throat, let me get it out of my throat as soon as possible. All right. Yeah. Give me some release, or don't push that button so hard. Yeah. Let me choose when I'm going to have it. So it's a choose your own adventure. If you're going to be moved, I'm going to allow for it, Yeah. But this is certainly the most overtly emotional stuff I've ever written, ever. Yeah. Never anything like this.
Well, you and I are similar ages. Our parents are from similar generations. Like, if you told my father that my emotional well-being was part of his responsibility, he wouldn't have known what the words were. Like, he just wasn't that guy. And you have something in the play that your father did for you where you had a moment of like tenderness. And I can't think of one. He wasn't abusive. He never hit me. He didn't yell at me or anything like that, but I don't have a tender moment. And I think about that sometimes. And so dad stuff really does get me. Have you ever wanted to be a father yourself? Has that ever been something you thought about?
No.
Yeah, me either. I don't have that longing really, and that's okay. I have friends that are, and that's cool too. But it was never something that burned within me. I want
too selfish, and I know it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you should know it. We should know ourselves. What's up? You talk about getting sober and how it changed you. Is there anything about it that surprised you? That was like, oh, I didn't know it'd be like this, or does it continue to unfold?
Yes, it is. It continues to unfold, but also the fact that I considered myself to be kind of a machine for most of my life. Like I could not gauge my reaction to things. You would push a button, you would get a certain reaction out of me.
Very reactive.
And I was not a feeling person. I could put on the emotion. I wanted people to love me a lot, but I could just destroy friendships at a whim. I was unpredictable. I was untrustworthy. I had no trust for other people. A lot of that from my upbringing. So now, somebody told me, people consider me Zen now in how they would describe me, calm and peaceful and trustworthy. And I love being of service. These are things that I could never imagined. Being happy, the fact that I thought I don't ever want to be around anybody who isn't high or drunk. I just want to be around before I quit, the only people I was seeing were people I knew who carried marijuana with them or who I knew I could go and have some alcohol or cocaine with, and that the other people were people I could never imagine having a good time with. And that's completely flipped now because I have parties. We have this big Halloween party every year. And so I invite some of my friends from my drinking friends, and they show up, and most of them, I can always tell when they've had enough where I no longer exist really anymore. Because when you're drunk, the other person, you're talking to them, but you're kind of doing a monologue. And so I would say I was surprised to find out I'm a nicer person than I ever imagined I was.
Yeah.
Kinder, reliable. And now, I have sponsees. I have 6 sponsees. No, I have 5 sponsees. And that, to have people call me and to take their calls. And these are unimaginable possibilities for me in my character. I just didn't imagine I had this kind of, I don't know if I would call it depth, but possibility.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful.
I think it's really beautiful, especially hearing the way things were, the way you depicted in the play. I went through rehab in 2015 because I had a problem with benzodiazepines because I was taking them to try to help myself. I had some kind of career blows and I wasn't on them very long, but I couldn't come off them. I would have these zaps and I was like, I can't do this by myself. This is terrifying. And by that point, I was a wreck already, just based on things that had unfolded. And so I ended up, and the place they take you is rehab. So I've never been a drinker, I've never done drugs, but there I was. And it wasn't the wrong place for me. I will say that. Like, I needed a place to fall apart. But you're talking about something that really struck me when I was there. Like, it was like a 5-week thing. And I remember like 2 weeks in, one night I went to a party that I go to every year for Outfest. And I go and I see all my friends, and it's at the Los Angeles or the Orpheum, and it's fabulous, and everyone's dressed up, and it's boys and cute. And I got there and I start mingling, and I'm like, these people are so full of shit. Like, everybody seemed affected, and they're my friends. Like, everyone seemed like they were putting something on. And I guess being in these rooms where everyone is just like, cut the shit, and like telling you, like, it really, I was struck at how different like normal social LA was compared to what I had been experiencing. It was striking to me. And I think that those places teach people to tell the truth. They get used to it in a way. And when I see somebody that's been through that, I'm always curious. They're always good to talk to because they can be real, I think. Yeah. Any thoughts? I don't know. I just,
no, that was great. You sort of actually said something that. I hadn't thought about what it is that keeps me hanging out with my sober friends more, is that exact thing of that there's like it's armor they're putting on. Alcohol and drugs is a kind of distancing device.
Right.
And it takes their elements of their personality and amps them up.
Yeah.
And it's how they feel real. It's how they feel authentic, because that's the problem. I mean, it isn't an alcohol problem. Alcohol is the solution to the problem, which is I don't know how to live in my body.
Right.
I don't know how to be a person. So give me a few drinks and then I'll know how to be a person.
Yeah.
And it's really, really tough to find other places to be fed that fix. But once you find the truth and vulnerability and just the kind of, I mean, you want somebody to drive you to the LAX or help you move. You raise your hand in a room full of alcoholics and you have 10 people put their hand up. Yeah. And that's really, that's just, we are connected. People who, I actually had a couple of my sponsees were Trump supporters. Yeah. And I found out when I was with them and I just said, oh, okay, well, let's never talk about politics again, but I love you and we're going to keep going. Right. And I thought I could never love somebody whose worldview was so completely abhorrent to me. Right. But that's the other thing about it is that we're not here to judge each other. We're here because we to help each other survive. So it's not about that. It's just about let's all survive together, regardless of who we are, you know?
I want to talk to you about Los Angeles because I just refinanced my place, so I'm here. I'm not going. I have a lot of friends that are going. There was this article in New York Magazine that I talked about recently. All my friends are leaving LA. What do you think of LA? What does it mean to you? Does this feel like home? Is it home? Are you leaving?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I love my neighborhood, Highland Park. When I drive into Hollywood, I love Hollywood. I just love each community is like it has such personality. It's completely uninhabitable in that the cars make it impossible. And I drive, it takes me like 45 minutes sometimes to get home from the theater at night, but I'm like, okay, I put on a podcast or I put on some music and I'm fine. Yeah. I just love, you can see revival movies. There's hundreds of them going on. You can go into a little, you can walk to get great coffee if you want to. Yeah. I love the shopping. I love the parks. I love the people. I disliked LA for a long time when I lived here. And I could not live here if we didn't, my husband and I, we own this house. He owns that. Well, I'm married, so I own it with him. Yeah. But if we didn't, I could never afford it. But because of that and because of the Writers Guild, I have a pension. I don't have to really work. I just have to watch my dimes. Yeah. And then I can just live. And it's a very livable place if you can afford it and if you can find a community that you can belong to. Yeah. And the AA meetings are fantastic in LA. I'll say that. They're fantastic.
And the theater scene, like I see things where I'm just like knocked out at how good everyone is. You know, not every time, but sometimes I'm just like, I'm in awe a little bit of it. And the more I'm here and the more things I see, the more I feel that way.
There's some terrific actors and writers and directors here and beautiful spaces. I mean, there are fewer than there used to be, but also I'd say it's been distilled to what we have are the creme de la creme is what's left here. You know,
people that are real theater artists, like that's their thing. They're not there trying to get a series or a development deal or get discovered. But they're great.
Because they cut off all the avenues for that to be able to happen. So now the only reason you're doing it is because you love to do it. Right. That's it.
I have a friend who's a playwright, and he's been on the podcast a few times, Howard Scora, and he's really funny. Oh. And do you know Howie Scora? He did.
I know him through Facebook, but I don't know.
Damaged Furniture, and he has these. He has a really unique voice, very funny. His stuff's very funny, and I just remember interviewing him after like his third or fourth play, and you know, and did it open any doors? And he's like, not really. Do you know what I mean? Like, no agents came. Like, I feel like that. I don't know. It feels like two different cities in that way, but.
Their window was open. When I started, I got my agent through the theater. Yes. I got all my TV gigs. I got a 3-year contract at Universal through Pop Mom, a play of mine, and I was suddenly under contract. It's a TV, Office, On the Lot, all that stuff.
I didn't realize you had a 3-year deal. That's amazing. Oh, yeah.
You would drive on the lot? It ended up being 3 years. Yeah. I ended up being, it was one year at a time. Oh, and I was horrible at it. Yeah. I was absolutely horrible. Great at pitching. I would come in, I could pitch and sell almost in the room. And then when it came to writing, I didn't have anybody who would teach me. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Now I know. Now I could really do it. Now I don't want to.
Right. I think about that things when I was younger. I didn't know, what was going on. And I also was too deferential, I think, sometimes to, like looking for leadership instead of like owning what I knew at times. It's interesting. But like there were things in LA in your play, Cuffs. Is Cuffs still there? You talk about going to Cuffs. I've only been there once, but it was like this leathery bar in Silver Lake, and there was like a gauntlet. Yeah, you would hang out at Cuffs.
And they only served beer. And it was right across the street was Basic Plumbing, which was a sex club.
Right.
So you'd meet somebody at Cuffs, and then you'd cross the street, and you'd be able to go and just, man. And I lived about 4 blocks from there in 1998, and I was just like, I was there every single night. It was insane. Not every night. Well, as many nights as I could get there. Yeah.
But Basic Plumbing was probably not cheap to go enter. Like, aren't those places?
You had to get a membership,
right?
And then once you got a membership, it was. Yeah. It was crazy.
Right. You had a therapist, you write this in the play, that asked you to list all of your sexual partners and encounters.
Okay. So that actually is not true. Okay. No, that list was from, that's the 4th step sex inventory you do in AA.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't, which I did, that story, I told all that to my sponsor.
Right.
But in the condensing of it, I just went, oh, okay. So I know it's funny, my therapist is going to come and realize, yes, I did pick him because of his photograph in Psychology Today, and he's going to go, anyway. So it was eventually, they were 2 separate stories, and in the editing process, I just said, well, who cares? I'll condense them, That's what you do.
Yeah. We're about the same age. I feel kind of fired up about doing shit. Where are you at? I have other friends that are like, I'm going to move and retire and like whatever. How do you feel about being this age and being creative?
I love it. I'm energized. I love going to meetings. I still play with my band.
Yeah. What's the name of your band?
It's the Roswell Sisters.
Right on. Nice.
Which we do. I don't know if you know, the Boswell Sisters were a progenitor band before who are the big singing sisters from the 40s? The Andrews Sisters.
Right.
So I did a bunch of arrangements of that, and I did arrangements of modern songs. So it's 3 singers and a bass and a guitar and a piano. Yeah. And we do like swing jazz, very tight harmony, singing. And I do a little pattern. It's sort of a comedy act with songs.
I want to come and see it. Do you have any gigs on the books? All right. I'll keep an eye out.
No, I told him until the play closes, I'm not doing anything. Next time I'll invite you.
Yeah. I learned about the play on social media, on Facebook, and I know you post on there sometimes. What do you think of it? What's it been like for you? Facebook, generally.
Oh, well, because I got there early enough to develop a following,
right? And
we all know how to connect with each other through the advertisements, which seems to be all I see now.
Right.
So the people I think of having a Facebook page is like being a mayor of a small town.
Right.
And here's what the town crier is telling you. So the people that I connect with, they know about my projects. I know about theirs.
Right.
But I don't spend a lot of time because it's impossible to weed through. Like, it never used to be that way, but now it's 90% advertisements for something that I would never, and porn, stuff like that, or I don't know where, but pillows, things that I don't know where they get this information from, but now I'm looking at all the mattress. Anyway, but I like writing on there, and I write essays on there.
Yeah.
And I am followed and commented on, and that's fine with me.
Right. Yeah. If you find the positive is there, along with the ads. In the show, do you play a Dionne Warwick song in the beginning? Is that
I sing? Yeah,
you sing it. Why? I don't know that song, and I was like, we grew up at the same time. It was probably on the radio. I don't know that song.
I just remember her. I had her albums. My mom had her albums, and I listened to them.
Yeah.
And so that it wasn't a big hit of hers, but it's "Message to Michael," and I just loved that song. And I don't know why, it was my favorite Dionne Warwick song. So when it came time to do a song, and it felt like, there's themes in the song that connect with Douglas and his son, so it became the perfect song to do.
I love when you play the piano and sing and do that. Is the nerves different for that? Is that part of the show? Are you like, oh shit, now I have to sing? Or is it, oh good, I get to sing now? How do you think of those sections?
It's the part, the piano playing is the hardest part.
Right.
Because I have to act and sing and play the piano. That's why if you listen to those arrangements, I am basically playing a chord and maybe a little bit of arpeggio, but that's it. There's no.
But you're
arrangement.
reading from music. You read music. Yeah.
But I'm doing like when I play a little bit of Claire de Lune, the Debussy piece at the very beginning, because it's the easiest recognizable classical piece of music out there outside of like Beethoven's Fur Elise,
right.
you know. But it's the most scary part is the playing the piano.
Yeah.
Because I was tortured with it as a child. Because I dropped out of high school so I could sit at home and practice. Right. But my mother literally stood behind me while I was practicing for hours, like the Phantom of the Opera. And it was horrible. It was horrible.
Oh my God! Do you imagine ever focusing a project on her the way you focus this one on your dad?
Yeah, I need to probably redeem her since I made her seem like a fucking succubus in this play. But I want to write a play. I did a little bit of it with the last one about Diana Gibson.
Yeah.
But who I really want to write about, I'm not going to say her name because it gets me in trouble, but I knew this very famous actress who did a bunch of my plays, and then we ended up falling out. Yeah. And then she became even more famous. Yeah. And now she's in the news all the time. And I want to write a play not about her specifically, but about that relationship. Because what she loved about what you were talking about, small theater, the reason she saw a play of mine and said she wanted to get back into the tiny black box theater of that experience, which is like no other. So
I saw those plays. I have a feeling I know who you're talking about. And I remember there was magic happening. Yeah.
And I blew it. That was just me. That was pure alcoholism, destroyed, burned a bridge that I wanted to see if I could survive without it. And it took me 10 years to quit drinking after that. But that was really, without that wake-up call, I never would have stopped drinking. Because I'm telling you, overnight, TV, I used to get meetings all the time because I could just drop her name. Yeah. And I did a play reading of a pilot script that was packed with just industry people because she was doing it. And then once I was persona non grata, it was like, tumbleweeds in the prairie ghost town. That was it, We've almost been going an hour. I just have a couple more questions left because I know you have to go. But were there people? You said you mentioned. I just have a couple more things, but you brought this up. You talk about burning bridges in the play, and you just mentioned it. Are there bridges that you fixed? Were you ever able to fix anything? Or you know what I mean? Like when you reconnect with people, did anything ever come back around? Yes, there is an actress named Beth Ruscio who was in the original Pop Mom, and I had a terrible falling out with her, and I don't remember most of what I had said, but I saw her at a reading of a Michael Sargent play, and I had seen her in, 30 years, I don't know how many years it was, and I just went up to her and hugged her, and we started communicating, and she wrote me this email in which she wrote down in detail the horrors that I had done to her. Oh my God. And reading it was just, and I got totally ashamed, but I said, oh great, I'm in a perfect spot for this. So I said, I was a shit. And so we haven't gotten together, but we've exchanged emails and texts. And our plan is, that to me was a miracle because, I was detestable. When she told me the things that I had said to her face, I just could not believe it. So that to me was like a beautiful redemption story
of what's
She's
possible.
Going to come see the play. Yeah, it is. I don't know whether this famous person. I'm not going to try and build that bridge. Yeah, I've learned my lesson. Right. But there are other people. I think it's possible. That's that's part of the 12 step is to make amends. Yeah. And some people, the first person I called said, "Oh no, I'm not interested in this." But then there are some people who are, okay, and you can start rebuilding. Yeah,
we get wiser as we get older. It's crazy. All right. Tell people how they can see your show, and then I have 2 more questions.
Okay. It is playing at the Rogue Machine, which is in residence at the Matrix Theater on Melrose. You may have the address. I don't have it.
I will put it at the end. I'll do an outro.
Okay.
But
so it's playing Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays. Fridays at 8, Saturdays and Sundays at 5, and Mondays at 8. Yeah,
it's so good. People should go see it. The set, the way it's set up, your performance, even the stairs. You're running up and down the stairs. Like, it's just great. Here's my final thought. I have 2 questions. So much is changing in television and film, and this is merging with that. I like taking this playwriting class because it feels like people have been doing theater forever, and they're going to just keep doing theater forever. Like, do you feel like, okay, this is something that I can hold on to? What is the permanence of it, being the tradition of it? What does that mean to you?
It's delivering communicating directly and getting the payoff immediately. It's like having a lovely conversation over dinner with somebody.
Yeah.
Or there's something that happens in a room. I prefer a smaller theatrical room because I think there's more of a visceral impact.
Yeah.
But it reminds us that we're alive in a way. And sometimes movies can do that, but you really hit it. It's ancient and primal.
Yeah.
And there's more possibility for God being in the room. I don't mean to get religious.
No,
but I feel
it. I feel this.
God is in like art.
Yes.
The God of art, the God of nature is there.
I go see a show and I'm moved before the lights even come up, just that we're all there, that somebody picked that lamp, that somebody's not getting paid, but they're on a headset doing their thing. I find it also moving. Final question. Your son, your play is called My Son the Playwright. Your father's passed away. What do you think he would think of it if he could see this show?
I look at his photograph every night before I go on stage, and I look right into his eyes, and I talk to him just in preparation. I believe that he would be very moved by this play, that he would I believe he would see it as an olive branch that we never got to share in real life.
Yeah.
And that he would see it as an act of like what I wanted to feel like, which is a gift. I think he would absolutely see it as like an irreplaceable gift to him from me. That's how I believe he would see it.
That's how it comes across. There's so much compassion in it. There's things that you share that you probably didn't realize you shared as much when you were alive, and that you're able to illustrate as a writer and a performer. And it's just beautiful. So, Justin, congratulations on the show. Thank you for this conversation. It was very moving to me.
Great.
I've loved your work for so long, and I'm glad you're still out there doing your thing.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on, Dennis.
You're welcome. Thanks again to Justin Tanner. If you're in LA, go see his show, My Son the Playwright. It's at Rogue Machine through March 1st, roguemachinetheater.org, and it's theaterre.org, the fancy kind of theater. All right, so this happened. I've developed a new party game, as many of you know if you've been listening, called Search Party. And we did a sort of crowdfunding pre-order campaign in the fall. The games arrived, you guys. They are here. So if you ordered a game, I am in the process of delivering the ones that are in Los Angeles, and the ones that aren't are in the mail. There's one address that I got wrong or something, it's not right, so I'm going to reach out to that person separately. But yeah, they're here. I'm packing them up. It's very exciting. And if you want to get a game, you can go to youdon'tknowmylife.com/search party and order a game for yourself. It'll go right out because they are in. You don't have to wait for them to be made. They exist. They are in my garage, a big pallet of them. And it's very exciting. I'm very, I was looking through my photo albums. I have this app called 1 Second Every Day where I save a second of video from every day as a kind of a diary. I've been doing it since 2016. It was a podcast guest named Joey Kuhn, Kuhn, a filmmaker who told me about it. And I've been doing it ever since, almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years that I have video from every day. And I started writing my gratitude list in the comments part. And so I've been doing that for like 5 years. So I don't go back and look at it very often, but I do once in a while. And anyway, the dinner party where I first hit upon the idea for what would become Search Party was a year ago last week, the same week that the games arrived. So between 1 year, I got the idea while I was at a dinner party at my friend Dennis and Byron's house, and we were talking about Andy Gibb for some reason, how tight his pants were in this one poster that was on everyone's wall. And I wanted to show them the poster. And so I typed in Andy Gibb tight pants, and it came right up. And it felt like a game. Oh, typing in words and searching for pictures. There's a game here. And that turned into Search Party. And a year later, those games are in my garage, a whole bunch of them. And they're cute. They look good. It happened. So there you go. And it was something that I did. I made it happen. And a lot of folks were supportive, and they pre-ordered it. And we're not taking a huge bath financially on it. We're doing okay. we've got all these games now. And I don't know if anything will happen with it in terms of like getting it into Target or any of that stuff. It didn't really happen with You Don't Know My Life, although that took on a life virtually. But, nothing can happen if it doesn't exist. And now it exists, and that's thrilling. So there you go. All right, that's enough for this week. I want to give a shout out to Oscar Rosario for mixing the episodes. My theme music is by Mark Downs for Placement Music. We will catch you next time on Dennis Anyone. Bye.